Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today once again we're going to talk about Airwalker. Why? Because now the CCP embargo has been uplifted and we have received pretty much a shed load of new gameplay and a lot of new information and a bunch of new videos, which kind of pretty much reaffirms what I thought about Airwalker in the first place. And after reading his initial ability set, I just stated that he pretty much has about exactly zero offensive utility, no immunities, no kind of like abilities to, I don't know, nullify, provide evade, provide auto block, provide miss, and only things he does are the things that pretty much any other Cosmic Champion does as well, as in have some sort of buffs, have some sort of debuffs, and that's about it, right? And has some damage, but unlike most of the other champions, he has no immunities and he has no real practical application. Additionally, it seems to be very much the illness of kind of like many recent champions, where the playstyle of him is very complicated, very tricky, very risky, with very little payoff. And if we take a look at this year's 2020 Cosmic Champions, you can see that all of them are also absolute garbage, where a lot of things are happening on the screen, as in like a lot of debuffs are getting placed, you gain a lot of buffs that do hardly anything, and at best of the scenarios, you gain a mediocre damage output. For instance, Nova can hit decently hard once fully ramped up, but it's not an easy thing to ramp him up. There are champions who hit harder without such a grueling ramp up and so much kind of like stress involved, kind of like measuring and following all of the icons. And then at the end of the day, even if he does manage to hit relatively decently hard, there's just no utility. And as we all know, in Act 6, in Variants, in Alliance War, in Alliance Quest, you need many very specific abilities in order for champions to be viable. And unfortunately, pretty much none of the Cosmic Champions this year actually have any of that going on for them. The best case would have been Terrax, but his damage numbers are so pathetically low that even some he has legit utility, he has this damage aura, he has armor breaks, he has immunities, he has genuinely things going on for him, but he just doesn't hit hard enough for it to be worthwhile. And when it comes to Nova, when it comes to Airwalker, there's just nothing else going on outside from the armor break. Now, armor break seemingly did have absolutely massive numbers attached to them for Airwalker, and that gave us some sort of hope. And the thing that I said about Airwalker was also that at best this guy will be a very hard hitter with zero utility. Unfortunately, he's not even that. Unfortunately, he doesn't even hit hard. He hits all right after a ramp up and in a tricky kind of like manner. Now, there are loads of videos on YouTube that you guys can check out now, released by CCP, but when it comes to actual CCP reviews, I typically like to rely mainly on one person, and one person in particular, and that is Cam. He actually just released his new podcast where he also discusses Airwalker in greater detail. I will leave a link to his channel and podcast in the video description, but the base thing, what he tweeted: Airwalker, another victim of defensive champs, falling short and feeling far too overbalanced and complicated when played on offense with nowhere near enough output to justify the ramp up and playstyle. So we all know what that means. He's going to be annoying on defense if you don't bring in Mystic Champion that can nullify his power cosmic buffs. If you don't bring in armor, break immune champion. So he's going to be annoying on defense in the sense that he's going to require counter. He's not going to be the hardest champion to fight against, especially considering his level 1 is relatively easy to evade and level 2 is very easy to avoid. Even you don't really have to evade it, you just can outrange it. And yeah, he's going to be decent defender. He's not going to be game-changing defender like Korg Thing, Annihilus, Mojo, but he's going to be annoying. He's going to be decently annoying on defense. But offensively, unfortunately, he just doesn't seem all that much to offer at all. Now, I'm going to switch to basically kind of like the chart that Cam likes to do for every single champion. He lists out pros and cons. And I'm not even going to go through every single pro, because there's one very common predominator, because you can immediately see that he was trying very hard to say anything good about him. If we take a look at pro section, there is every ability, every section in pro starts with decent defender, decent damage output, some synergy with Despair, decent passive power gain, active access to armor break is like, okay, cool. With some AI cooperation, you can keep up to 4 access to active buffs. That's literally grabbing to the straws at this point. Not the worst synergies. Again, everything that's listed in pro section is pretty much kind of like torn and out with like great pain and great, I don't know, desire just to say something good about Airwalker. However, when he discusses the cons, you can see a lot more passion, a lot more free-flowing language being used. Even after all of the build-up, the damage output is inconsistent, risky to activate with the heavy charging while no protection, and the results are nowhere near worth all that effort. I think that that sentence alone pretty much sums up the Airwalker extremely well. Now we're going to go with offensively way overbalanced. His offensive power gain from hitting is reduced, but not the defensive power gain. You don't actually get to activate your special 3 until after winning 2 fights on offense, but it's already active on defense. He's sporting the second lowest base attack value in the game, second only to King Groot, which is like a really pathetic by comparison, just to let you know. Very low base crit rate, crit damage ratings. No utility other than armor breaks and unstoppable after 2 fights and a special 3. No immunities, no defensive ability counter, no way to protect himself despite the risky playstyle. All your power is drained after Power Galactus special 3. Buff runs out. Also, while it's active, you're unable to launch special 3. Absolutely grueling ramp up during the first fight. You're going to have much harder time building dark type debuffs, harder time gaining power, and without your special 3 buff, much harder time getting in the damage. Defensively countered completely by nullifiers, and the crossfight ability is almost exclusively defensive because it pretty much kind of like just reduces opponent's block proficiency, well, your block proficiency if you're facing Airwalker, and special attacks. And yeah, all in all, it really does not look good against Airwalker. And after even I kind of like glanced through pretty much every single CCP video released about the guy, and you could see that people are trying their best to sell him on his positives, to tell good things about him, but let's be real here. He's bad. He's like very, very bad. He's in line with 2020 Cosmic Champion bad. If you think Terax is a good offensive champion, if you think Nova is a good offensive champion, then you might like Airwalker. However, if you are a reasonable human being, you're going to realize that those champions will either stay or be ranked up for defense or gonna stay unranked, and that is kind of like the big conclusion, the final confirmation here, that not that I particularly needed it, but I definitely wanted to emphasize the fact that he sucks. That's about as plain and simple. Silver Surfer is a god compared to these scrubs being released in 2020, because even though Silver Surfer is definitely not great, at least he can be used somewhere. Now, Airwalker, Nova, Terax, they're just so mind-bogglingly bad that you can clearly see that is it that Kabam is afraid to make good Cosmic Champions this year? Did they overdo it with Captain Marvel movie version, which is like the last really good Cosmic Champion? Because people like to say the Cosmic class is really stacked, and it really is. And Cosmic class has 3 amazing champions and 4 or 5 good champions. Cosmic class has Hyperion, Colrus, and Captain Marvel movie, which are all amazing. But most of the classes at this point have pretty much more, maybe with the exception of skill and tech. And then we obviously have Medusa, Venom, I don't know, Venom the Duck, which are good champions, but are not quite up there with the best of the best. So yeah, unfortunately, definitely a dud. Definitely save your units. Obviously, stay tuned for Dragon Man. So far, I like Dragon Man a lot more, based on deep dives, based on ability descriptions, based on my kind of like, I don't know, imaginary scenarios in my head. He's going to have far more utility with those immunities. He's going to have far more offensive capability as well with that cornered extra damage. And overall, he's just going to be far better champion than Airwalker is, unfortunately. Because all being said and done, yes, we needed a good Cosmic, and the Airwalker definitely is not that. Also, doubtfully, we're going to get one next month, which is a Professor Xavier and Magneto buff coming, and I don't know what's going to be the other champion. Well, Professor Xavier, I think, yeah, he's confirmed. So we're gonna have Professor X and Magneto buff and something else, but I don't know exactly what. Doubtfully it's gonna be a cosmic. So far this year, basically 9 months in already, we have yet to receive a good cosmic champion, and I'm doubtful that we will by the end of the year, to be honest. And yeah, that will also kind of pretty much conclude today's video, I think. Save your units. If you want to grind for him for the heck of it, go for it, but don't invest too much in that grind, because only plausible use for this guy is going to be kind of like annoying / diversity defensive placement. And obviously, while he's new, he's likely going to get some few kills in. Prestige is decent, nothing game breaking. Everything else kind of stinks. Well, he might be quite fun to play. Some people enjoyed him, some didn't. But yeah, so basically, stay away from my Airwalker. He sucks. See ya.